Dear students, I, Dr. Nidhi Sharma, Assistant Professor of Chemistry, First Year Engineering Science Department, today is going to explain you the spectroscopic techniques, unit number 5. In that unit number 5, there are two parts, UV visible spectroscopy and IR spectroscopy. So, first slide is based on UV visible spectroscopy. Hello all, I am Dr. Nidhi Sharma, Assistant Professor Chemistry, AISSMS IOIT. Welcome you all for UV visible spectroscopy part 2. In part 1, I have described about the basic terminology and the concepts of UV visible spectroscopy. What is the technique of UV visible spectroscopy? What are the parts of the spectroscopy? Now in part 2, here I am going to describe about the few terms which are involved in spectroscopy and what is the application of spectroscopy. There are few important terminologies which are used in UV visible spectrophotometry. The first term is chromophores. Now the chromophores are covalent unsaturated groups which are responsible for the electronic absorption in UV visible region. As you can see in the example, these are the functional groups which contains double bond. Now the second is oxochrome. The oxochrome is a saturated group. Important is saturated group with lone pair of electron. And when this oxochrome is attached to the chromophores, then it changes the wavelength and intensity of absorption. It means the presence of oxochrome is only possible if the chromophore is there in the compound. Okay, so the function of oxochrome is only to alter the wavelength and intensity of absorption. As you can see in the given example, benzene, it is chromophore as it contains the double bond. If on benzene ring there is a presence of methyl group is also an oxochrome. And now you can compare the wavelength. In case of benzene, the wavelength is 225 nanometer, and in case of toluene, the wavelength of absorption is 260. So there is increase in the wavelength of radiation. And then after that, if you go for the phenol, which contains OH group, so here, as you can see, it is 270 nanometer. So it means the oxochrome is changing the wavelength of absorption. There is a very simple graph which I have shown in this slide. It shows the relationship between absorption of radiation and the wavelength. So it covers the four types of effects which occur during the UV visible spectrophotometry. Like the first is bathochromic shift or the red shift. It shows that there is an increase in the wavelength. Then on another part, there is hypsochromic shift or blue shift, which shows the decrease in the wavelength. Then hypochromic shift, it shows the decrease in the intensity of radiation. And hyperchromic shift, it shows the increase in the intensity of radiation. So one by one, we are going to discuss these points. First, the bathochromic shift, which is also known as red shift. As it is clear from its name, red shift means more wavelength, higher wavelength. So when absorption maximum of a compound shifts towards the longer wavelength, then it is called bathochromic or red shift. Now, how it happens, why it happens? It happens due to the presence of oxochrome or due to the change of solvent, due to the change of medium. Both factors can be responsible for the red shift. Now the example clearly shows, the first example is of para-nitrophenol. Now as you can see in para-nitrophenol, if we are adding alkaline medium, if we are changing the medium, there will be a change in the wavelength. Earlier in para-nitrophenol, it was only 255 nanometer, and then after changing the medium, when the medium is alkaline, then what happens? The H plus from OH group combines with the alkaline medium to form water, and there is a development of the minus charge on oxide, which is called para-nitrophenoxide ion, and as you can see, the wavelength is 265 nanometer. So there is increase in the wavelength due to the change in the solvent. Next shift is hypsochromic shift or blue shift. So what it shows, when absorption maxima of a compound shifts to the shorter wavelength, then it's called blue shift. In the example, it is clear when aniline is subjected to the acidic medium. Now what is going to happen? There is a conjugation loss. Conjugation loss how? Now this H plus ion which is present in medium, it is going to combine with NH2 to form anilinium ion. As there is a formation of, as there is plus charge over nitrogen, so the conjugation is less. Earlier there was a presence of lone pair of electron, due to which there is a resonance in the compound, and the wavelength was 280 nanometer. But due to the addition of H plus ion, as there is anilinium ion, so now there is no lone pair of electron, less conjugation, less resonance. So due to that, the wavelength decreases, which is 265 nanometer. Third type of shift is hyperchromic shift. Hyperchromic shift means when the absorption intensity of a compound increases, then it is called hyperchromic shift. If suppose how it happens due to the presence of oxochrome. As you can see in the example, this pyridine is given, the intensity is 2750. If in pyridine there is an addition of methyl which is working as an oxochrome, the change in intensity is there, the intensity changes to 3560. So again, like hyperchromic effect is also due to the addition of solvent or the presence of oxochrome. The last effect is hypochromic effect. Hypochromic effect means the decrease in the intensity of radiation is called hypochromic effect. Basically, the hypochromic effect occurs due to the change in the geometry of the molecule. If there is change in the geometry of the molecule, then the decrease in the intensity takes place. For example, this tranexamic acid. In tranexamic acid, as you can see, the intensity of absorption is 15900, and in case of cis-cinnamic acid, there is just only a change in geometry. In cis-cinnamic acid, the intensity of radiation decreases, which is 10700. So due to the change in geometry, if the intensity of light decreases, then it is called hypochromic effect. And the next part is how these transitions occur actually. As already in the beginning, I have described that UV visible radiation are responsible for electronic excitation. So first of all, we should understand before electronic transition how many types of electrons are there. So basically there are three types of electron: the sigma electron, pi electron, and n electron, which are also known as lone pair electron. As you can see the energy level, the sigma electron, and after that the pi electron, then n electron, then pi star means anti-bonding pi electron, anti-bonding sigma. So this is the energy level. Now what type of electronic transition actually takes place when a molecule is subjected to the UV or visible region? Its electrons are promoted from bonding to anti-bonding molecular orbital during the transition. Now the very first type of transition which is possible is sigma to sigma star. Sigma star means sigma anti-bonding transition. Now first of all, it should be clear that in which type of compounds this transition is possible. Sigma is responsible for the single bond character, and the transition is also taking place in sigma anti-bonding sigma molecular orbital. Hence, it is clear that sigma to sigma star transition is only possible in saturated compounds. An electron in bonding sigma orbital is excited to the corresponding anti-bonding orbital. The energy required is very large. For example, like methane is the example. It shows the absorption maximum at 125 nanometer. Absorption maxima due to the sigma to sigma star transitions are actually not seen in UV visible spectrophotometer, because the reason being UV visible spectra covers 200 to 700 nanometer, and if the wavelength is less than that, then this wavelength cannot be studied, cannot be recovered in UV visible spectrum. So it means sigma to sigma transition star transitions cannot be recovered in UV visible spectrum. Second type of transition which is possible is N to sigma star transition. N to sigma star transition means what are the conditions first which are required. N means there should be a presence of lone pair, and sigma means saturated. So hence the saturated compounds containing heteroatoms with lone pair like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur. These compounds are responsible for N to sigma star transition. These transitions usually need less energy than sigma to sigma star transitions. These can be initiated by light whose wavelength is from 150 to 250 nanometer. So the number of organic functional groups which are having N to sigma star peaks covers the very small UV region. Carbon example is carbon with heteroatoms like carbon oxygen, carbon nitrogen, carbon chlorine, in which the N to sigma star transition is possible. The third transition is pi to pi star transition. Pi to pi star transition means the compound should be unsaturated. Carbon with double bond or triple bond or aromatic compound shows the pi to pi star transition. They require less energy and high wavelength. Transitions like in alkenes, alkynes, carbonyls, nitriles, these types of transitions are present. The fourth transition is N to pi star. N means presence of lone pair or electron. Pi means unsaturated. Hence, unsaturated compounds containing heteroatoms with lone pair like nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur shows this type of transition. They require less energy and longer wavelength, around 300 nanometer. An example of these transitions are C double bond O, C double bond N, C double bond. So as now we can see, the maximum energy which is required for the transition is in sigma to sigma star transitions. Okay. And the less energy required in N to pi star transition. There are two transitions which are forbidden transitions in which UV visible spectroscopy, yes, spectra is not observed. Sigma to pi star or pi to sigma star, these are forbidden transitions. Sigma to sigma star transition occur near UV, not in UV region. It occurs near UV region. Pi to pi star occurs in near UV and visible region. And N to pi star occurs in visible region. As you can see in the table, in case of N to pi star, if it comes in 270 to 350 nanometer, it gives the R band. If pi to pi star, the three types of band can be obtained: E band, B band and K band. E band is ethylenic band. It comes in 180 to 200 nanometer. B band means benzene or aromatic band, 220 to 270 nanometer. And K band, when there is a presence of conjugation, then 210 to 280 nanometer. The last part of the UV visible spectrophotometry is the application of UV visible spectrophotometry. Now, first application is qualitative analysis. UV visible spectrum are very much useful to obtain the knowledge about the unknown organic compound, some new organic compound, with the help of UV visible spectrophotometer. How we do it? We compare the spectra with the various known compound, and then the physical and chemical properties can be described for the unknown compound. Second is quantitative analysis. As already it has been explained, with the help of Bayer's law, when we draw the graph between absorbance and concentration, the straight line graph is obtained, and with the help of this straight line graph, the concentration of unknown solution can be obtained. The third most important application is the chemical kinetics. As definitely it is clear from the second application, we can find out the concentration of the solution, and chemical kinetics is the analysis of the compound, is the analysis of speed of the reaction in which we observe the concentration of the compound. Hence, the absorbance is directly proportional to the concentration of reactant or product. So with the progress of reaction, the change in extent of absorption per minute, it can help to study the kinetics of chemical reaction. The fourth application is the structural information, as lambda x gives the information about the chromophores, oxochromes. These are the structural part of organic compound. So whole structural information can be obtained with the help of UV visible spectrophotometer, as well as the UV visible spectroscopy can help to detect the dissociation constant of weak acid, weak base, as well as for the detection of impurities which are present in the compound. Thank you.